Alright everyone, welcome to Dyson Sphere Program. I'm William, this is Photon Wind, and just some quick tips in Dyson Sphere Program on making construction a little bit easier. So I just want to show you something about the sorters in Dyson Sphere Program. Something that's not immediately obvious, but that you should definitely take into account is that they have different speeds depending on the distance that you use them. So if I just take the sorter mark 1 over here and I put one for each of the 3 distances you can go. So if I look at the sorter mark 1 over here, the one that's going a distance of 1 grid, it's going at a speed of 1.5 trips per second. So that's picking up 1.5 objects per second. Then we've got the one that's going a length of 2, that's going 0.75 trips per second. So you see that's half the speed of the first one. And then the one that is going a distance of 3 grids is going at 0.5 trips per second. So definitely something to be aware of. If you've got a assembler or something that is requiring maybe 4 of one object and 1 of another object, you definitely want to have the object that needs the most in your conveyor that's going closest to your building, because you can then shift them across way quicker. If you had to take the ones that you needed a lot of from a long distance, they'll be going way slower than the ones coming up faster. So something just be aware of. If we then look at the Mark IIs, you'll see that their speed is 3 trips per second for the 1 grid, 1.5 trips for the number 2, and then 1 trip per second for the number 3. Another little tip for the construction in Dyson Sphere Program I want to show you. This has been improved in the latest patch, the upgrade function. So we can use this to upgrade our number 2s to number 3s over here. So we've got sorter mark 3s now, and you see these are doing 6 trips per second for the 1 grid, 3 trips per second for the 2 grid, and 2 trips per second for the 3 grid. So massive speed improvement, all the way from 0.5 trips per second down to 2 trips per second. These can be improved in the technologies by getting the sorter cargo stacking, which then in the sorter Mark III will carry more units per trip. So you see it will stack 4 things per trip, which will then get you just more throughput for your things. So it will pick up 1, 2, 3, 4, then trip, 1, 2, 3, 4, then trip. So you'll get a lot more throughput compared to just the sorter Mark IIs or 1s. Something that's also very useful for construction in Dyson Sphere Program is if you've got something, say you want to just set up a recipe, I'm just going to click a random one here, and you want to build something, just hold down the shift and click, and you'll copy the recipe into the new building. So you don't have to click and select the new recipe. If, however, you have built a bunch of different things and you want to get the recipe in there without deconstructing them, what you can do is use the triangular brackets on your keyboard, and if you use the left one, it'll copy the recipe, and then if you use the right one, it will paste that recipe onto the new building. So that helps construction speed. So new features that have been added in the latest patch as of this video are the chain upgrade and dismantle functions, which give you a bunch of new options where you can do a upgrade in an area, which you can use the plus or minus keys to expand the area. So you can upgrade a bunch of buildings at once, and you can filter it between facilities, belts, and sorters. So you can just say you want to upgrade your buildings, or you just want to upgrade your belts and sorters. You can toggle all of these, which is really nice. And then you can also downgrade by using the down key to downgrade something if for some reason you need to do that. The same sort of functions in here for your dismantling. You can dismantle one thing, you can hold down shift to dismantle a chain of things, or if you go into the grid, you can just do an area dismantle. So the same thing with the upgrades, you can hold down Shift to upgrade a segment of things. Very useful, awesome new addition to the game. Okay, so a tip for mining in the game is you want to have a minimum of 6 veins utilized for one miner. So if you have 2 of them with 6, you should get a full Mark 1 belt of resources coming in, which can just make things easier to calculate for ratios and things. So if you see now, if I just put some power on here, when these merge up, we've got 1 full belt. Another tip for construction of miners is that they're one of the buildings that you can really benefit from using some more advanced construction tips. They can benefit from more advanced construction placement tips over here. So by default, everything in the game is snapped to the grid, and you can press R to rotate a building. But as you can see, if we want to get 6 or more of these veins utilized, we want to put them into a more precise positioning. So if you hold down the Shift key, you can move a building off the grid, and if you hold down the R key, you can rotate a building around to find a better position. Something that it took me too long to realize is that also you can use the left and right arrow keys on your keyboard to rotate in both directions, just to get an even more precise position. So here we can see, there we've got 7 veins utilized, so that's even better. The more you can use at once, the faster the production out of your building. And this is improved by certain researchers. And if you want to just check instead of counting, you can just click on your miner and it will show you how many veins are being used. So something I found in the game that can be a little bit annoying in construction is building conveyor belts. Sometimes the game wants to put them in weird places, and you're not sure why it's doing that. A tip that helps if we go in the game here is if you want to make sure that the belt is going where you want it to go. So say you want to go up using the up arrow to a slightly higher level, and then for some reason it's wanting to then snap it down to another one. If you hold down the Shift key, it will remove that snapping to buildings and it will go exactly where you're telling it to at the height you want. So then we can get this to go exactly where we want. Just makes things a little bit easier. So another very useful thing to look at in the game is stacking. Things like your matrix labs for your research, you can stack the buildings on top of each other, and it just means your space is better utilized and you don't have to lay out inputs to too many buildings. So like for my research over here, I've just got 3 buildings getting resources, but then it just sends them up the tower to get more resources in one spot, just so things can be a little bit quicker, which helps out a lot. More efficient space utilization. You can upgrade how tall you can get with different upgrades in your upgrades of your technologies over here. You've got vertical construction, which gives you storage and lab vertical construction increases as you go on in the game. So you can stack not just your matrix labs, you can stack storage buildings and your liquid storage buildings, which lets you just really create a nice buffer of resources and stuff in one spot without having to build them all together. So any input that goes into the bottom of one of these towers, when your bottom one gets filled up, then it will start filling up the next one up, and then the next one up, and the next one up, and the next one up. Another tip for storages is you can adjust the capacity that it will fill up to. So if I drag this slider down in my storage over here, I can tell it that I just want 2 stacks or whatever of whatever storage we're putting in there. So it'll only fill up those 2 blocks over there, and then the bits in red that are grayed out over here, it won't fill up. But you can, if you just want to put stuff in there, you can put stuff in there still, but it won't use a sorter to put things in there. Also, another little tip for inventories. Let me just put some random items in the storage. Say you want to sort your inventory. There's a little button up at the top over here which will sort everything and put, if you've got, say, multiple stacks of things, it will join them together. So that's also another tip. If you want to split stacks, just right click on them and you can choose how many you want to split out, and you can split out your inventory like that. This sorting also works for your main inventory, and if you hold down a control key while you're in inventory, it will transfer everything in one inventory to another one in a blank space. Or if you just click on one specific item, it will transfer all of that specific item to the inventory. Or if you hold in the shift key, it will just transfer that one stack into the next open inventory. Yeah, I think that's all I wanted to show you today. Just quick little things to help construction in the game. If you want more tips like this, subscribe, like, give me a comment, let me know. It certainly helps with the algorithm and things like that. And I stream this game on the weekend on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/photoonwind if you want to see what I'm doing. Thanks for joining in. I hope you enjoyed, and bye-bye.